Now let's get more familiar with the lights and settings for the post-process volume, and we will create the small environment by using the HDRI and how to use the HDRI basically in the Unreal Engine, because there are some certain limitations and some features you would need to know to use that. First, let's create the new level. Again, let's create the new empty level, which doesn't contain anything. Create it. Let's save this one. So we don't have anything here. And first, let's add lights, HDRI backdrop. HDRI backdrop basically is 360 image which emits light, and it is producing some environment lights and so on. And if we place our rig here in our scene, it will not be affecting the car because there's just like a strange bug in Unreal Engine. You really need to make the size of this environmental dome, because it's like just a dome mesh with the picture inside it. And to make it work, we need to increase the size of HDRI to something like 500, and see immediately the light affects our scene and 3D what we have in the scene. The best part of the HDRI that all of this HDRI will be reflected no matter what. Do you have ray tracing? Don't you have ray tracing? It doesn't matter. Everything will be reflected, and that really gives this quality, this level of quality of the reflections. And I will show you the different usages of the HDRI in the scene in Unreal a little bit later, because it's really cool tool to get this just fidelity of the details on the reflections and so on. But first, let's find some nice HDRI. There is some which are built already in Unreal Engine, and as you can see, there's just like a little bit of changes. It gives the shadow, but it doesn't produce the shadow from the directional light. It just basically casts the shadow on HDRI based on like environment scene. Okay, first let's find some like really high quality HDRI, because this one is quite not there. It's really low quality. It's like maybe 2K resolution, or maybe even 1K resolution. I get most of my HDRIs from the website polyhaven.com. There are a lot of free HDRIs to use, just like pure skies, some environments. You can just like put your car in some street or something. And I already found one good HDRI, which I really like. This is like the Venice sunrise. Looks really gorgeous. You should pick something 8K. The 16K will be really the best option, but if you have not so powerful PC, that may take time for the texture to be prepared, and for some other like changes if you are doing the changes to HDRI. So let's download this one. Wait until it is downloaded, and while it is downloading, let's create the content folder for our HDRI, because we will be using more HDRI maps for this purpose. So let's wait till it's downloaded. And for that reason, like HDRI, really good option to set up the lighting really fast and quick, and it also can affect your environments, and it will look really good. Also, like you really need to put your car on there, because it doesn't have the proper collisions with this with the rig. So because even though it's a mesh, you need to put it a little bit higher. Or what I also like to do, because it doesn't collide with the mesh, I also would like to do just the shapes, plane, and put the plane underneath of our HDRI. See what's happening. Like it really needs to be big. So let's scale that up a little bit. Put it here like that. Yeah. And let's put it under our HDRI, so it will disappear and our car will stand properly on this HDRI. Okay, so our HDRI has downloaded. Let's have a look. Here it goes. HDRI folder. Just simply drag and drop that one. Just to be clear, you need to download the HDRI file, not the EXR, HDR file. to use the HDRI. Unreal will prepare the textures, and after the textures are prepared, you can select your HDRI backdrop, pick this thing, and apply it here. See, but what is wrong here, right? When you move around, that's the limit of the limitation of the HDRI. You need really to be focused, to be placing your car in some particular spot. The problem with that one, that you really limited with angles. You can't like put it anywhere, like, you know, fly there and change it. So in Unreal, it's really, really hard to do. But what I like to do, and I find it's the easiest way to place your car in the scene with the HDRI, you need to search for use camera projection. Use camera projection, and the HDRI will always be like in the proper position. You can turn around, but when you fly around with your camera, your car will be like, you know, flying in the HDRI, and you need to find the proper placing and scale for your HDRI and the car to make it work properly. So let's first create the cinema camera actor. Cinema camera actor. Let's jump into the cinema camera actor and place our car so it will look, you know, standing properly, because otherwise it just like doesn't. So you need to define yourself place. Let's increase the size of this plane, because really we will be moving and turning our car. So let's turn it around a little bit, put it somewhere over here, maybe even like that. So yeah, with HDRI you get really, really nice reflections and really nice realistic lighting, but you need to be sure that your car plays properly in the scene. Now let's do some changes, like steer our wheels a little bit just to put the car in a beautiful position. Disable body leaning so it's not like dynamically leaning. I think that looks better. Maybe I will also increase the focal length like to something like 24. Let's get a bit closer and put our focus even I think even closer is possible, something like that. Now, like, I like it this way, looks fine. Now let's focus on the car, but what you immediately can see that there is no shadow under our car. Well, there is, but it's not dark enough. Basically, the contrast of the HDRI and our environment doesn't match. It doesn't look properly, right? So we need to adjust that one. You can adjust it with the post-processing settings, creating the color volume, but I think the easiest way is to open the texture, because for some reason Unreal like really needs to understand what is the compression settings. First of all, you need to set up the MIP gen settings to no MIP maps, and in the compression settings it should be not HDR compressed. Let's wait for the texture preparation, but it should be HDR no sRGB. So yeah, here it goes. All is fine here, and there should be all settings right now. Fine, yes. Okay. And if you find it too bright, you can set up with the post-processing settings, but I also just increase the brightness curve to 1.2. And usually I just decrease brightness sometimes in the texture just to be sure. That's my way of doing that. And as you can see right now, we have better shadow on there, and the contrast basically almost matched with our HDRI. Now let's add the post-process volume settings and direction light, because it works the best with the direction light and it will give us the proper shadow on the ground also. So visual effects, post-process volume settings, make it unbound so it will be affecting the whole scene. And now let's add directional light. So see, the directional light gives us better shadow on our Hdri, which already looks good, but right now our sun is not positioned properly. And if we try to, put it in the scene, we just need to put it somewhere where the real sun is currently positioned. But the thing is, what we need to do also, we need to see the sun. So let's first put the bloom method to convolution. See, it's already getting better and better. And let's for now decrease the exposure a little bit. So make it like that, right? So we can see the HDRI, sun and light and all of that. So because we changed it to bloom, but we can't see still our sun. It's just somewhere we don't know where it is, right? And it's still giving us this white light. What we can do here is by adding atmosphere, sky atmosphere, because as I said, directional light works with the sky atmosphere, and we need to add the visual effects sky atmosphere, and in that case we'll be able to see our sun, and it will also dictate this color change if it goes really down. And as you can see, just looking similar, right? So we can place this light in the same position as our HDRI. In post-process volume, let's again disable the lens flares, lens flare intensity to 0. I really don't like it. So, and if we crank up right now the exposure, you will see that we have the difference with the shadow. So like that. And if we disable the directional light, we will not have this shadow which it casts to our car like that. So we'll put it somewhere here, our light, our directional light. You'll see it. Here is the shadow, and if we disable, we don't have the shadow on the ground, and we really need to have it to get the better feeling of our environment here. It just adds this realism of the place in the car. And let's make it enable the daylights with this our lamp. Okay, nice. And also, as I mentioned, you can crank up a little bit in the post-process volume, the shadow contrast scale, to get a little bit more details in the shadows, just to make the picture brighter. But we will have the same contrast of the scene and of our car. Maybe we'll fly a little bit back, move the car closer to us, and we also can change the color of our car. Currently right here, it's pick the body, and in the body car paint, let's change the car paint to car paint charcoal, for example, like this. The other trick, which I'm going to show you right now, as our reflections on the car, right now the contrast is fine, everything is good, but the reflections, they're just not what we expect, right? From this HDRI, it's 8K, it's really high quality, right? So the thing is that our reflections, I'll just get out of the camera just to demonstrate it better. See, they're just kind of blurry and so on, but our car paint is super detailed. We have all these flakes, all looks really, really nice. So we just need to find the angle to make it look cool, and everything is just looking gorgeous, but except the reflections. And the thing is that during the reflections, it uses the sky cubic map. So we go skylight, and with the skylight in our HDRI backdrop, there is skylight component, and there is the cube map resolution. By default, it's 128. If we increase that to 124, we'll have much better reflections. See how they changed? So if I reset that one, see how blurry it gets. So just go like that, and we have it better, much more detailed. Let me demonstrate that again. Well, you don't see that much from here, but from the close-ups, you definitely can notice that difference, and it will be looking much, much better in that case. And also in the post-process volume settings, let's enable high quality translucency reflections. Let's increase the lumen reflection quality. Let's go for the quality, lumen scene light quality, higher, final gather quality, lumen reflection quality, also increase that, and even screen space reflections. Yes, that might affect your performance, but Hdri is really good for stills or for just, camera passing by, like rotating to the left or the right or something like that. The contrast of the scene is proper. We can even crank up exposure a little bit, like 8.5 to make it look even better because it's like super bright. And we can set up also some contrast scale. We can also decrease the contrast scale for highlight just to introduce, more color into our sky, because otherwise it's just blown out. It's just like blank white, right? So you need to adjust it to your taste and to your desire. What you can do here is just like this. So the limitation of Hdri, so even if we switch to path tracing, let's again editor update. Let's wait for the texture to be prepared. You can also apply for the skylight. You can also apply it like real-time capture, but that's not what we need. We need this one to be the specified cube map, and you can use the same vehicle like this Venice and apply it here. And in lit mode, you'll see how it looks like. So that is the proper setup for lumen. Also, to get even more feeling of the shadow, you can change the light distance factor and set it to 1, for example, and see the light distance factor affects how the light will be projected on the floor and giving us the proper shadow under the car, and it's looking just beautiful. And as you can see also, the shadow of the car is like super strict, like it's like a drawn line, right? To make this shadow softer, you can change the angle of the sun, and source soft angle to make this shadows just softer by increasing those two parameters. See, it's just like soften ups, and it looks a little bit better, more real. And with this convolution bloom that we have in our post-processing volume, we can also crank it up or crank it lower. So it's really, again, up to your taste how to make it. And we can adjust the light. See, it's like really bigger if we are doing that. It's like really cool effect here, and I really like it. Yep, this is it. Can change also some focal length, maybe to 35 again, and get it a little bit further away like this. But as I mentioned, you are really limited with what you can do with the Hdri angles, because it is really, just a picture, and you cannot move really far away from changing the actual angle which you have here. Those are the settings for our environment. We can check the path tracer now. And this is how it looks in path tracer. It also will render faster. Also with the path tracing, it really doesn't have almost any noise, because this entire scene is well lit by this environmental dome. And you can pick like clear skies also, like this. You can pick any location, but just know that you'll be limited with the angles you are using. Basically, you would need to be at the same height as the Hdri projection. As you can see now, we have lit mode, which almost has no difference from the past tracer, except that the reflections are a little bit more detailed, they're a little bit more bright, maybe more real, as the car paint would react to them. Also, if you disable the camera projection, you can do some camera animations, but you really need to be, standing in the proper position at the center. So you would need to check the center of the Hdri, probably set it to 0, and you would need to pick your car and pick your plane and set it also to 0. So you can make it like that, right? So in that case, when you have it aligned, you can fly around with the camera and animate that. And look, that looks really nice. All the reflections are there and it's complete real time. It really looking cool. Also, with the interior, you can go into interior and make some interior shots like that. So if I change my camera focal length and focus on our car, you will see it's like really looking beautiful inside, and you can see really nice the exterior. You have proper reflections. They are really sharp, even though we don't use any ray tracing right now, and it reflects really good all of the HDRI's details. But as I mentioned, you really need to find the proper angle to do that. So if you look, for example, from this side and we want to see the background with the HDRI, we would need to pick this projection and try, to stretch it out or stretch it up or down, depending on what we expect to see from this angle. But you should be always at the same height and the same position as the HDRI. So you, in that case, move the car somewhere, because to maintain the proper position of the car in the scene, your camera needs to be, standing in that place. It really depends on your HDRI, what angle you are able to pick, but most of the time your camera should be at the 0 position. So yeah, let's put it here, for example. See, it looks good. And we pick our camera again and pick the focus on our car. And it's all working real time. You can still do some renders or stills. I think this approach just suits stills the best. But look, that looks just perfect. With a little bit of Photoshop after that, or maybe if we just defocus a little bit from our car, we'll blend it in completely. We have the shadow on the car, the proper one, and the shadow from the sun. That's how it should look like. I think this one is also looking really great, and you can even rotate around our car, flying around here and there with all these beautiful reflections. So yeah, you just need some limitations with the HDRI, but anyway, that works really great, and you can use that one just to properly place the car inside the scene, like this or like that. So something like that looks really cool. Another limitation of Lumen using HDRIs is using the interior HDRIs, because there is some issues because you don't have the proper shadow under the ground for the car in that case, and if you introduce the directional light, that will not look that good. So I will demonstrate right now how it works by using this environment. So I have downloaded this HDRI 2. So right now we will add it also to our project. Here it's like old bus depot It's really a nice environment for, placing the car here. Actually, this looks like really, really nice from super wide angle, right? Let's apply this here. Also, don't forget to in the skylight, because in the skylight I also changed the specified cube map because that actually produces the light here. So if I put it here like this, there's also like the designated spot I would like to use for this purpose. And with the cine camera actor, I'll change it to 24, and I'll put my car. Wait, I need to pick the plane too. So I'll pick both of the actors, place it like that, place it here, right here, and we'll come closer to the car like this. And it's all right now working in path tracing. Let's disable steering for our car. Steering, set it to 0. And let's place the light also in the proper position. In that case, we don't need the sky atmosphere because the light is white. We will hide it, or even we can delete that. Let's rotate our car a little bit like that, something like this. So if we disable the directional light, you'll see it's like how strange it looks, and just like it's not there, right? There is soft light here which affects the car. We can try to put it like up, high up, but you see that we have changed the parameter for lighting distance factor. We need to reset that one. Place the car probably like here, but if we disable the directional light with a path tracer, it works fine and it produces the shadow, but it's still not there. The shadow is not the proper one. So if we use the contrast scale, increase the shadow contrast scale, and maybe even like turn our camera a little bit on the roll rotation like this, and focus on our car with the camera. So in path tracer, it looks somewhat believable, I would say, but still the shadow maybe is not there, but still it produces the shadow. But in lit, it doesn't look that good. It doesn't look that good. It doesn't come near close like that because it's really, really dark. You can try increasing the skylight intensity like this. It will give better results, but still the black point of the environment is not close like to what we have here. Let's put it a little bit up with a plane here, editor update, and plane a little bit higher like that. So it's still not there. It's just like doesn't work really good with the interior lighting. We can try to adjust again the texture of this one and set up it to Hdri, this, and set no MIP maps just as the any Hdri asset. So this one, like default one, which is in the engine. But you see that in the interiors, it's really hard to compensate that. You can try putting some maybe rectangle lights to create the shadow underneath the car. Again, like with a path tracer, it looks really, really close to reality. You get those bright things. You can change the HDRI backdrop intensity. Let's drop it down to 0.7 maybe, or 8. Yes, I think this one works really nice. And in post-process volume, highlight contrast scale, we should adjust this one a little bit more like that. So see, with the path tracer, it looks like it belongs to this scene. But in lit mode, it doesn't come close to that one. So it's really about making the tricks and trying to implement the realistic look, but the path tracing will be much more appealing in that case than the lit mode, right? So it's somewhat good, but it's still not there. It's not like the path tracer, unfortunately, but it's just enough. I believe this is the best result which you can get with the environments like this, like the interior environments, but path tracer just destroys that one. It just looks so freaking good compared to, let's change the aperture a little bit, or like exposure compensation in our camera to make it manual. Something like manual, something like 5 or 6, let's see, 7. Yes, like that. So it just looks so much better. Like really, you have the light which travels from this window. You can see it on the seats inside and the interior, but with the lit mode, it's not there. Just not there. You can, as I said, you can try changing the skylight intensity to give it a bump, but unfortunately it just doesn't get that good as it does with this path tracing mode. So even if we use the scene capture and real scene captured, but yeah, still fortunately not there yet. With the path tracer it's much better like that. So those are the limitations. If you are doing some interior HDRIs, it's better to use HDRI as the global lighting and have some 3D environment, which we will do right now.